Everybody, welcome back to the channel. Today I'm here to break down the NFL quarterbacks for Week 7 on Draftkings, the main slate on Draftkings. I'm going to get into all the quarterbacks that I like, the games that I like, stacks that I like. Before I do that, if you're new here, make sure to leave a like on this video, subscribe to this channel, leave a comment, turn on notification bell. Let me know in the comments who you think the best quarterback play of the week is. All that stuff really helps me out, helps me grow. Had a lot of growth throughout NFL, NASCAR, NBA season. I want to continue that. If you want to get more of my content, you can subscribe to my Patreon for only $10 a month. You're going to get articles for every single showdown slate. You're going to get articles for every single position every single week, along with cash rankings and GBP rankings. You're going to get all my injury notes for every single week, so you'll know on Sunday who to leave in and who to take out. And there's some other stuff as well that I'm just drawing a blank on right now, so be sure to check that out. I'll put the link down below. But I think that's really all I got to say. Let's get into the players. We're going to start out with Baker Mayfield. Cleveland Browns going up against the Las Vegas Raiders. And look, Baker Mayfield's only like $6,000, $6,100 on DraftKings this week. There's some cheaper stacks that we can get to that are definitely viable, and this is one that we'll start with. This is overall the best offensive versus defensive matchup that I have on the slate for quarterbacks. The line set on this game is at 53.5 right now, and the Browns are favored. The Raiders have allowed the fourth most points to quarterbacks this year. They've been a great matchup to attack quarterbacks with this year, just basically, and on the ground. I mean, the Raiders are just defense that aren't good that we've been attacking on DraftKings pretty much from everywhere this year. So Baker Mayfield definitely someone that I like, have some interest in, want to get some stacks of him. There's no Odell anymore, so Baker Mayfield stacks are pretty cheap. Like you can go to Landry and Rashard Higgins, or you can throw in Harrison Bryant. Any of those guys are viable for sure. Honestly, if you want to throw in like David Njoku, and if you want to take a shot on Donovan Peoples-Jones, they're all cheap. And when I get to the running back videos later, you're going to see that there's a lot of really good expensive running backs. You're going to want to pay down some of the other positions because you're going to want to get those expensive running backs in your lineup. So Baker Mayfield stacks are definitely something that I think is very interesting this week, and I want to get after. Ryan Tannehill is going to be the next quarterback I'm going after. They're going up against the Cincinnati Bengals on the highest total game as of right now. The line on the game is at 55. This is another good offense versus defensive matchup on the week. The Titans are favored in this game, and the Bengals have only allowed the 14th most points to quarterbacks, but that's still like pretty good. I mean, it's not an elite matchup like we're going to talk about with Garoppolo, Seattle, and then like Baker with Oakland or Vegas, but the Bengals are still a team we want to attack from everywhere. They've been just giving up a ton of real life points to teams everywhere on the ground and in the air. So Ryan Tannehill is definitely someone I want to attack. I like his stack options as well. He's a little more pricey, but not really where it's getting me worried about price. His stack options are going to be A.J. Brown, Corey Davis, and Jonnu Smith. Those are probably the only ones I want to get to. I think all of them are definitely viable in this matchup against the Bengals. So Ryan Tannehill is definitely someone I like going after for stacks. I mean, this game is likely to shoot out, in my opinion, probably the most likely to shoot out. Now, that can end up meaning a lot for Derrick Henry, but it could also mean a lot for Ryan Tannehill, and Derrick Henry is going to get a ton of ownership this week. So stacks from with Tannehill, Brown, Davis, Jonnu, any of those guys are going to be lower owned. So that could be the way to go if just Henry can't get it done on the ground, and maybe they're just going through the air, or maybe they somehow get behind this game. Like, I don't think that's out of the question that they could get behind in this game. Cincinnati's defense isn't good, but they've showed stuff with offense. I mean, they were up ahead on Cleveland for most of the game last week, so I mean, I know Cleveland and Tennessee are two completely different teams. Tennessee's probably better, but still, I don't think that's out of the question. Aaron Rodgers and Kirk Cousins, we'll talk about them both together since they're in the same game. They're going to be going up against each other, 53.5 game total. We do have the Vikings at home. The Green Bay Packers are slight favorites over the Minnesota Vikings here. Both have positive offense versus defensive matchups. The Minnesota Vikings have allowed the 21st most points to quarterback, the 8th most points to quarterbacks, and the Green Bay Packers have allowed the 21st most points to quarterbacks. Both are in good spots. I mean, yeah, Green Bay overall hasn't looked great or as a great matchup to attack, but still not overall, I don't think, a great defense. I mean, I think Jair Alexander is really good, but outside of that, the pass defense hasn't really been elite or anything. Adam Thielen's had great games against Green Bay over the course of his career. We saw him have one earlier this year. In week 1, had a very good game, so I'm not really scared of that. Definitely like Kirk Cousins stacks. He's also cheap, only $6,000 on DraftKings. He's an easy stack with Justin Jefferson and Adam Thielen. That's probably the only two I want to stack. If you want to get a little bit bold and go down to Irv Smith Jr. and throw him in some, I think that's definitely viable. He's going to save you a ton of money. And like I said, you're going to want to get some expensive running backs in. And honestly, the cheap tight ends have been getting it done this year. Like, those have been the guys in the winning lineups a lot this year. So maybe paying up for tight end isn't necessarily the way to go. So definitely, I don't hate that at all. And then Aaron Rodgers, of course, Devontae Adams. If you want to get MVS or Robert Tonyan in your lineups, those are both going to be salary savers as well. We all know MVS is pretty much either deep touchdown or bust, but when he has those deep touchdowns and you pair him with Aaron Rodgers, assuming Devontae Adams also has a good game, that's going to be very, very viable. And also, if you kind of want to sneak in Aaron Jones, if he plays, I think that's okay as well. He definitely gets some usage in the passing game, so I don't hate going there. I think he's in a good matchup as well. So Aaron Rodgers stacks I love a lot. Love these two. These are two of my favorite stacks. The Rodgers ones are going to be a little bit more expensive, especially Devontae Adams. So that is why I like going to like Tunyon and MVS, because they do offset some of that salary, that give us some of that salary relief that we're going to want to spend up at other positions. Derek Carr on the other side of that Cleveland Browns game with Baker Mayfield, 53.5 game total. They are expected to be playing from behind. Cleveland's pass defense hasn't been great either. They've allowed the 7th most points to opposing quarterbacks so far this year. The secondary outside Denzel Ward is just really bad. Linebacking core is really bad. They have a good pass rush, but that's really about it on that defense. So Derek Carr, and Derek Carr's been throwing it deep this year. Like, I can't believe I'm really suggesting Derek Carr in 2020, but it's 2020, I guess. But I mean, he's had himself a really good, pretty solid year. He's throwing the deep ball. He has deep threats now. Nelson Aguilar, Henry Ruggs, good deep threats. I mean, those are stack options if you want, but definitely I wouldn't just go there. I definitely include Darren Waller in any sort of stack with Derek Carr. But if you want to include Henry Ruggs or Nelson Aguilar alongside, I don't hate it. Cleveland defense really isn't, the pass defense really isn't that good. We've seen Aguilar get some volume recently. Henry Ruggs not as much, but if Henry Ruggs busts a 70-yard touchdown, it's going to be a really good stack, and we know that he can do that. He has that upside. So I definitely like Derek Carr playing from behind in a pretty solid matchup. I think he's in a good spot. Joe Burrow is going to be my favorite quarterback play of the week as of right now. In the other side of that Tennessee game, they're not favored in this game going up against the Titans. Positive offense versus defensive spot. The Titans have allowed the 10th most points to quarterbacks. Their defense just pretty much hasn't been able to stop anybody this year. Secondary's not good, missing their number one cornerback for the whole year so far. I don't see any reason that Dory Jackson's coming back this week. Linebacking core hasn't really been able to cover anybody. So Joe Burrow, his stacks look great. I love him as a cash play. He's not expensive. Another cheaper stack that you can get to, Tyler Boyd, T. Higgins, A.J. Green, all viable. Yes, A.J. Green, he's been struggling this year, but the last few weeks has definitely picked it up, seen more volume, and been actually catching stuff, so he's definitely in play as well. I love Burrow stacks, running it back with someone from the Titans like Derrick Henry or A.J. Brown. I think Henry's going to be the popular one, so A.J. Brown maybe the less popular one to go to. You're going to want to fit in those bigger running backs. I mean, Derrick Henry is one of those, so that's fine. Just kind of throw him in there, but yeah. Joe Burrow definitely looks like a spot to attack. I mean, just the Titans' defense just is not good. This is the highest total game on a slate. They're playing from behind, so everything looks really, really good for Joe Burrow. Jimmy G is going up against the Seattle Seahawks, which I'm honestly surprised this game total is at 53.5 right now. I mean, I know Seattle scores a lot, but I mean, the 49ers really have been scoring more than people want to give them credit for. And I think Jimmy G is going to end up being a really sneaky play this week. I mean, yeah, there's no Deebo Samuel, but Brandon Ayuk's been playing really good. I actually really love that guy. I think he's going to end up being one of the steal receivers of this draft. I mean, this draft's, loaded with wide receiver, but Ayuk is not getting talked about enough. That guy's very good. Then, of course, George Kittle. He's only like $5,400 on Draftkings, really, really cheap. He's going to be playing from behind. I know that, the whole Jimmy G thing is that's a running team. He doesn't really offer you a ton of upside. But if they're going to be playing from behind, they're not going to run the ball a ton. They're going to have to pass it. And that's when Jimmy G stacks come into play. The Seattle defense has been horrible. That was second most points to quarterbacks. I believe it's still number 1 to opposing wide receivers. It was a week ago. I'm pretty sure it's still number 1 to opposing receivers. Their secondary, their whole defense is bad. I mean, it's just a bad defense overall. And so I think this is a spot where this game could shoot out. And Jimmy Garoppolo, very cheap, very sneaky play. He's got a cheap stack with Ayuk as well. Kittle's a little bit more pricey, but he's not like too expensive where it's going to kill you for other positions. So I think Jimmy G stacks are definitely in play. I didn't put Russell Wilson on his video just because I don't think that's where I want to go this week. Like, yeah, Russell Wilson, Metcalf, Lockett, they offer upside. We know that, but I mean, Lockett ain't getting 50 again. And it's just like, honestly, the San Francisco defense, even though it's like unhealthy, has been pretty solid. Like, Jason Verrett has stepped in, been very good. The linebackers are still there. They've had some guys come in and just do good enough. And Jimmy Garoppolo, and Russell Wilson, I mean, it's just so expensive to want to fit another running back, so I didn't really put him in. Honestly, not too interested in Russell Wilson this week. Then we're going to close out Jared Goff going up against Miami Dolphins. He's a little more expensive than I wanted him to be, but I don't think anyone's going to play him this week. And I think this game, I know it's only at 46 total game script or total line right now, but I think it's underratedly could shoot out. I mean, Miami Dolphins, we know their defense is bad. I still don't think the Rams defense is as good as people give it credit for. It is very good defense, but Miami in Tua's first game, I mean, they could have a solid game. We know what that offense can do. But on the other side, Jared Goff just facing in a pretty bad matchup. He's got receivers that, I mean, Cooper Kupp in the slot against Nick Needham is going to be amazing. Robert Woods going to have a kind of tough matchup against Xavier Howard, but I think he should be okay. So Jared Goff stacks, I think, are going to be very underrated going into this week. Kind of like my really contrarian quarterback play here. So I think Jared Goff does look very, very good. But I think that's really all I got to say on the quarterbacks. I hope you guys got a lot of good information out of this. Thank you guys so much for checking it out. I hope you guys have a great rest of your weekend. Make sure to check out the running backs video that's up